Hello, folks. Thank you for coming in this evening. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I'm going to go down and share my screen. Well, it's the evening of November the 6th, 2018. It's a day that I'm sure history will be made. We, the people of this great nation, went out and cast our votes today and in the previous weeks when early voting was in session. This is an impromptu little podcast, basically just to give a little bit of insight to some of the things that happened today and happened in the previous few weeks, shall we say. Voter suppression, as we know it, has been being done and being forced upon the people of the U.S. with great ability. You turn your head, you snooze off a little bit instead of staying woke. Next thing you know, you can't vote for whatever reason they gave you. Or you show up to your precinct to vote and they tell you, oh, you have to go somewhere else. Then you go there because you were directed to that next precinct. Then they tell you, no, I'm sorry, you're at the wrong one. You have to go over there. And it just went on and on and on and on for some of us. For me, myself personally, none of that happened. Thank God. That's why I went out to cast my vote as soon as early voting basically started. I think it was the second or third day of early voting is when I went. Today I did my civic duty and I was able to take two citizens to whom I had never met before, never seen, when I got the call to pick up these folks, one at a time and one at a different time, to take them to the polls so that they could cast their ballots for whomever their candidates of choice was. It's been a long, long ride, folks. I can remember last year around this time, the chatter began or had began a little bit earlier than November, perhaps last summer before this past summer, about the upcoming midterm elections that were going to take place in 2018. Folks, if some of you can't grasp, that are probably listening, that just can't grasp or wrap your minds around how important this particular election is. Let me say this, and this is my opinion based on some facts, some fact checking, some researching. This election is one of the most important elections. Basically, I'm one of the last year of the baby boomers, 1964 to be exact. This will have a huge impact on myself, on other citizens who are my age, a little younger, a little older, your children, your children's children, and possibly even to their children. Things are at stake. Important things. Our democracy has been totally challenged. And I hope that everyone who has been chomping at the bit, who has been angry for the last nearly 2 years, let their voices be heard today and in the last few weeks. Today, I witnessed firsthand, after driving to an area that was nowhere near my home, where I live in the metro area, to a township by the name of Snellville, Georgia. And in this township, I picked up an older gentleman who did not have a way to get there. His car was broken, and he had taken it to the shop, and for whatever reason, the shop is taking a little longer. He thought it would have been repaired last week, but they're telling him not until the end of this week. So anyway, I had volunteered to shuttle people to and from the voting polls, and I finally got 2 calls in the allotted 4-hour span that I had signed up for. When I picked this gentleman up, he was very nice. Didn't know me and didn't know him. My only thing was to get him to the polls safely and back to his home or wherever he was, wherever I picked him up from was where I was taking him back to. And I'm not going to lie, it must have taken probably, because he was in the group that was able to vote, but after he was basically walking out, and he saw a couple of people and stopped to chat with them, all hell broke loose in that little voting precinct in that area, in that particular building, shall we say. Now, I don't understand, and I want some of you to comment. Of course, don't forget to like this video, to share this video with others. And of course, if you're listening and you are not a subscriber to PG, your host, to the podcast Unapologetic Tea Time with PG, that's me, please do so. Don't forget to click the little bell notification icon, and you will be notified when I am live or when I post another video podcast, shall we say. But back to the gentleman in Snellville. All hell began to break loose because of the fact they had been working feverishly to try to figure out what was wrong with some of the machines in the building, the voting machines, and come to find out they were missing, you guessed it, power cords. Now, what in the hell? Okay, you bring these machines, you bring these raggedy fuckers over, you dump them off into the building of where they're supposed to go for this event, for this voting event. And the head poller or person that's in charge of that, commissioner in charge for that building or whatever, for that election event at that location, and the second in charge or whatever, you mean to damn tell me when checking out the machines, you had to plug the bastards in They work electronically with the goddamn card. So you know damn well, basically their computer is a little computer with a little screen. You mean to tell me you didn't know that the fucking power cords was missing? Come on, people. That's the kind of fraganackle, I'm gonna say, good old fashioned Southern grade A goddamn swampland bullshit that some fucking body done call themselves pulling in order to negate the fact of how many people was going to turn out, and in hopes, I guess, that you're going to suppress the vote that way and people will get discouraged and go home or go back to work or wherever the hell they came from. Well, I thank the gentleman, and we chuckled about it for a second, but in all seriousness, we got into a little serious conversation. In fact, we both agreed that it was sinful. It was a shame that people would stoop so low, because you see, I don't give a damn if it's electronic or not. A human has to plug the son of a bitch in. There's no robots just yet that's been artificial intelligence that has been placed at these polling places to plug shit in or to do whatever and take the place of humans. So humans had to plug this shit in, okay? All right. Moving right along. Needless to say, by the time I dropped this gentleman off, and I actually went back to around to the facility, in the vicinity of the facility, as far as I could get up to it anyway, to take another gander or look at the amount of folks that were waiting and in line and what have you, and it had already wrapped completely around the building and out into the parking lot somewhat. um those folks that had been coming since we had gone, and I was, en route to dropping him off. And by the time I made it back just to take another look and see, for myself, for an update to what was going on, um, they were trying to find out what was going on. So they said people were, talking amongst themselves. I pulled off into the parking lot. A couple of people was kind of going back to their cars, and some, they had kids or whomever, teenagers standing, for their places in line and what have you. And I spoke briefly to one lady. I said, what's going on? And she said, oh Lord, she said, I don't know. They're telling us that the power is out. And then one man said, no, the power ain't out. They can't, the cords are missing on some of the machines. I said, the cords, what cords? And he said the power cords. I said, what? So I don't know right now because I haven't looked at the news. I won't look at the news probably until around 11 Eastern Standard Time, my time. Um, just because I like to kind of let things die down on election nights and what have you, and then look at everything as pretty much most of the precinct numbers will be in, or hopefully around midnight or so. And I kind of start looking at around 11ish, and watch the ticker and watch it, the different numbers scrolling across the screen and what have you. But that's sinful. Then in another area of the country, now this was just in my local area of Georgia, in the metropolitan area. Another area of the country was in, I believe it was Arizona this morning. The folks, now these voting machines were placed in this particular facility or building, or a leased spot, or a real estate, something commercial or whatever. And you had to have known that the machines were there, and supposedly the building was under foreclosure or something to that nature. I guess that's what they told the news media, who one of several of the news agencies that were covering the story at that time this morning. When people arrived to the polls, they were met with the polling workers and what have you, saying that they were locked out. They could clearly see inside that the machines were there, but they were locked out by supposedly the landlord. Now, somebody done paid the landlord for him or her to pay somebody else or a group of people to go there and chain up the doors and lock the building down tight with chains and padlocks and what have you, so that these people could not enter into the building to fire up the machines and test them for that, test run before the polls open in Arizona, in a township in Arizona this morning. That's just some of the bullshit that has gone on. Not to mention in the weeks leading up to today, Tuesday, November the 6th, you had all kinds of bullshit going on. Here in Georgia, you had Brian Kemp, who should have recused himself from the job that he was holding, and also he's running for in the gubernatorial race for governor of the state of Georgia. His ass was also in charge of the voting machines and the voting laws. So, I mean, you running, but yet you're calling the shots because you're still in charge. And then no one thought about having this man recuse himself or taking his ass to court and making him do it and resign from that position so that it doesn't look like he has anything to do with it. Then last night and the day before yesterday, he comes up with some bullshit about, oh, the Democrats. Now, how the fuck you gonna just determine that the Democrats then hacked the system? No, your ass probably looked at those fucking numbers that were already, being counted and already in, and you figured, oh, well, if I discredit about 53,000 voters or so that's already voted, and guess what? 95% of them were of African American, of the African American ethnicity. So you're going to disqualify them for some frivolous made up bullshit and throw those out, or just wouldn't let them vote at all, or up and holding out on some shit. That's crazy to me. Okay, so I'm gonna need them to investigate his ass for tampering, voter tampering, and stuff like that, and some voter fraud, because that's crazy. Now, if y'all not ready for a black governor in Georgia, I'm sorry. That ain't my fucking problem. And folks, when I vote, and I hope when you voted, whenever you voted, whether it was today or in the previous weeks, that you voted for candidates that were at least somewhat aligned with your core values and views, and not just because they were white or black or Hispanic or Jews or Gentiles or Iranian or I hope you voted in with that in mind, because it is our core responsibility as citizens to uphold these elected officials that we place in office. When I consider giving my vote, when you come and ask me for my vote, or you get on live TV, or you get paid for commercials and it's on my damn TV screen, and you cut into my program and I can't see my program because every other 10 minutes there's a damn commercial because it's election time and y'all paid for some more commercials, and you're soliciting my vote. I need to know. I'm going to do my research, and I hope that you guys did as well, that who I'm going to give my vote to is going to be aligned with most of my core values. Now, everyone is not going to be 100% spot on. Okay, there's no perfect world, there's no perfect person, and everybody is not going to have the same purview as you, or as me, or as lady next door, or as the guy across the street, or the neighbor upstairs, or the neighbor behind you on the next street over, or the family that lives next door to you on the right, or the single female that lives on the left of you, or whatever. But there is going to be basically a happy median that you can find. There's going to be at least 5 to 6 things that you believe in, that this candidate also believes in, and that this candidate is pushing for, and that's going to benefit you. Because see, they make the fucking rules, but they don't play by the motherfuckers. They make the rules, but they don't play by their own rules. And here's the thing, how we win, or what we do is, okay, you get in office and I gave you my vote. Okay, I might have stomped, around for you. I might have talked to some people in just some candid conversation, or we had a really good dialogue with a group of people over supper, or a group of people over some beer or some cocktails, or whatever. And we decide, yeah, I agree, da 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 da, that's a good choice, or he's a good choice, or she's a good choice, or they're a good choice. And your ass haul off and start some crazy shit, then I'm gonna be, okay, just as fast as I stomped for you to become elected, it's going to be just as fast as I try to disrupt your ass in your political office, and everything that you try to do, I'm going to try to be a thorn in your side with the other folks to try to get your ass right on back out of office. That's what we have to do, because a lot of times, folks, we have been missing the mark. We vote for these candidates, and when they decide, I'm in and I'm not going to do the shit, I'm not going to honor the shit, I'm not going to do the shit and push my agenda that I campaigned on, then that's when you pump your brakes. And as a collective, again, power comes in numbers. You get your asses together, you go down to City Hall, you write your congressmen, you write your senators, you write your legislators, and what have you, and you get these people out. You raise holy hell. You bring attention, because at that point, hold their feet to the fire. It's not just, oh, woe is me. You voted in this candidate and they're not doing what you want them to do. And they're not giving you, or they're not interested in you. They're not interested in helping you or your community, where you live, where you work, and these issues that were being challenged, and they decided that they had a solution, and they're not doing it, or they're not working towards it, or pushing the agenda that they ran on, you know damn well at that point, once they show you that, it's time to disrupt their happy home and start complaining, start voicing, letting your voices be heard again, so that they no longer take advantage of the citizens on lies, trash, and garbage. Not all of them are like that, but some of them quickly forget who put their asses in office and what they campaigned on. And that's just, that's just keeping it real and just keeping it honest, folks. I'm not going to hold y'all long. It's getting late, but I just wanted to let you guys know that, hey, hopefully we can have a bit of a sigh of relief. Trouble don't last always. It's been a long year, and I hope that tonight we see a large amount of victories for the folks that we voted for. I'm not talking about parties. I'm talking about people, because a party is just a party. The person at the end of the day is what's going to matter, and what their values and beliefs are, and what their agenda is, and whether or not they're going to hold true to what they said that they would do. Again, yes, I voted early in this 2018 midterm elections. And it was because I felt that voting, one, is my responsibility. It is a right that I have that was given to me by my ancestors and the people who came before me and the people who laid down their lives, that were hurt, assassinated, beat down to the ground, meat, skin cut up from fire hoses and everything on Bloody Sunday and everything else before I was of age to vote. It's my civic duty to vote. Like I said, it's because voting empowers me to have my voice be heard or represented in our democracy, because we live in a democracy. Right now, and for the last several years, our democracy has been being challenged, and that is not acceptable. This election, again, folks, is the most important election I feel that will take place in my lifetime. It's not enough to sit by angry on the sidelines. It's just not. Folks, I hope that if you wanted to change something and to make a lasting change and impact, that you chose the almighty power of the vote. And in closing, keep in mind as we go about tomorrow and into this evening while we're relaxing, think about democracy is not some abstract notion. Think about that. It's an incredible privilege. It's an incredible privilege. And it's to be cherished, nourished, and by all means and at all costs protected. It's not just me. It's not just you. This has to be a team effort. And as I've said before, we are all on the same team, and that's the human team. So remember, the folks that we put in office today, November the 6th, 2018, we must hold them accountable. Their words and their actions will impact all of our lives. Somewhere, sometime, at any time, in your country, in your county, in your town, in your neighborhood, in your community. The words that they spew out and the actions that they actually perform will definitely impact you and me. Sometimes it will be deep as far as the impact, and sometimes it will be profound. But just know that you and I and that person and that person, the person next door, the person across the street, the people you work with, the people that you go to church with, the people you go to school with, the people that's in the clubs with you, the people that's at the chess club, the people on the golf course will all be affected. It's time. It's been past time. It's time that we take action. And our vote impact their jobs that they apply for, because we are the hiring managers. So remember that. Peace to you all. There's someone on here that's listening or that's going to tune in and listen that needs to hear the words, I love you. There's someone on here that needs to know that trouble doesn't last always. There's someone that's tuning in or that may tune in that needs to know that tomorrow will be a better day. So as I sign off, I want everyone to rest well tonight, to sit back and look at those numbers as they come in. And for the candidates that we chose, hopefully they are winners. And if they are, let's applaud them. Let's get behind them and help them push for the change or changes that they ran their campaign on. We as a collective and we as a people must help. Also remember, we hired them. And with the power of the vote, we can fire them. Be safe and good night. This is the PG with Unapologetic Tea Time, signing off on the midterm election night, Tuesday, November the 6th, 2018. Bye now.